Hello and welcome. If you're returning after my first video, thanks for coming back and checking out what I'm working on now. I do just want to start by saying I'm really blown away on the reception of my first ever YouTube video. I hope I can continue putting out content that people enjoy watching. So thanks to all of you who are returning. Simply watching my videos is support enough. But a special thank you to all of those who went and bought me a coffee or joined my Patreon campaign. I do hope to be more active on those two platforms as my channel grows. We're going to see where all this goes. I'm still getting my feet off the ground, so to speak. A quick content warning about some of the footage that's going to appear later in this video. The footage is from a commercial fishing trip I did off the Washington coast, in which there will be depictions of catching, killing, and cleaning wild-caught salmon and some halibut. Although I think it's important that people see where their food comes from, I totally understand if people are sensitive to seeing those kinds of images on their computer screens. When filming it, I had a desire to make an entire video dedicated to fishing and life at sea. I was only able to get enough good footage to do a short segment in this video. That being said, I would also like to keep with the theme of my channel and make sure I'm including a little bit of woodwork in every video I put out. So the first part of this video is going to be me building this smoker box, in which I'll smoke some of the fish that I caught on that trip. Now, I didn't go into too much detail in the building of this box, but if you watch closely, you can pretty much get the gist of it. I do hope in future videos I can focus on projects like this and show people in more detail how to build them for themselves. I didn't bother doing any drawings for this box. I just kind of made it up as I went. I figured out some rough dimensions and worked from that. I also worked with the wood I had and let that set my parameters for size. Now, I built this with some leftover scrap material I had from various projects and some inexpensive cedar offcuts sold at my local lumber yard. I decided to mill a little shiplap into them, like so. Although it doesn't make the box completely airtight, it's going to slow down the smoke from escaping. Now, I'd call this kind of a mid-range homemade smoker. There's very simple, inexpensive ways to smoke fish, meats, nuts, cheeses, whatever you want to. I've seen people do this with things as simple as a blue tarp wrapped around a stick frame with a small fire in the middle. You can do it with a cardboard box and a toaster oven, an old refrigerator and a hot plate. Essentially, you just need a box to contain the smoke and a heat source. I didn't cut these yet. I'd only cut those. I began building at my makeshift shop at my house, but the weather came up and I got blown out and had to move down to my shop in the boatyard to finish off some of the parts.
Hey! Are you on camera? Oh, nice. What are you working on?
You do whatever you want.
I was gonna see how long you're here. It's got a pretty complicated electrical system on it. And I was just gonna sit down on the bench and start poking around trying to figure out what was wrong with it. But
See if you can light something on fire.
yeah.
I'm finishing the door for my smoker.
Nice. What kind of heating element situation did you?
I got an old potbelly wood stove,
Yeah.
and I'm just have flue piping going up to the bottom of the box.
Yeah. Cool. You're gonna have to make a video of all the people that interrupt you while you're videotaping.
I just filmed all that. I'll let you know if I use it. So I've got this going with a little bit of cedar kindling, but up here in the Pacific Northwest, the preferred wood to smoke with is alder wood. We've got plenty of it around here, so I'm gonna go find some and get the alder smoking in this before I get the fish in the box. Now while those fish are in there smoking, let's head out on the boat and I'll show you how these fish are commercially caught and processed at sea. For this, we're going to join my good friend Greg, who some of you may recognize from my first video as one of the shipwrights that went up to Alaska and worked on the power scows. When Greg's not shipwrighting, he runs the Arminta, a wood salmon trawler built in 1945 alongside his partner Amy. Greg, being the stellar shipwright that he is, takes extra special care in maintaining the Arminta. This makes for a very comfortable living situation during the long, hard work days at sea. This can be somewhat of an exception to the rules as far as workboats are concerned. Before we get too far along, I'd like to take a moment to differentiate between trolling and trawling because they are commonly confused for each other. Trolling is a hook and line fishery. Trawling, on the other hand, utilizes a very large weighted net, scooping up any and all sea life in its path. Trolling for fish, similar to trolling on the internet, we dangle shiny, flashy lures in the water in hopes of getting the salmon's attention. Using these species-specific lures drastically reduces our unwanted bycatch. Now the way this works is we have a stainless steel cable with a lead cannonball attached to it that we slowly lower off the side of the boat. Every couple of fathoms, there's a pair of beads on the stainless wire where we snap on our troll gear. That consists of a snap with a length of monofilament fish line and a lure at the end. Lines snapped on the steel cable run to bells on the tips of our outrigger poles to alert us when there are fish on. So, once you know there's some fish on, it's usually time to start running through the gear. because every 2 fathoms or so you have a piece of gear clipped on, you have to remove that gear as the cable is coming up alongside the boat. You'll see that we're leaning over the side of the boat with these long clubs called gaff hooks. We are indeed bonking the fish on the top of the head to stun them and hopefully knock them out before we land them on the boat. This has a twofold benefit. One, they're not flopping around everywhere. Two, their meat doesn't get bruised. Since these fish are often destined for a somewhat high-end market, like being displayed at niche grocery stores or high-end restaurants, trollers take extra special care in the handling and processing of these fish. Almost as quickly as the fish are brought on the boat, they are cleaned, gutted, and pressure bled. This helps inhibit bacterial growth and maintain freshness, creating this superior product that trollers are so proud of. Once all of our fish were put to sleep and tucked into their icy beds, it was our turn to get some rest. These fishing trips usually lasted between 2 and 3 days, and since we were 30 to 40 miles off the coast, we would spend our nights drifting out on the ocean. In fair weather, like seen in most of this footage, it was easy to get a restful night's sleep. However, during rougher weather, it was a lot harder to get much sleep out on the boat. A day of work on the water, no matter what that job is exhausting and taxing on the body. I'd say the pay's not great, but the days are long. But the rewards of epic scenery and raw natural beauty, impossible to experience on land, are well worth it all. Once we caught our weekly limit, we would head back into port to unload our fish. During the Washington fishery, Greg sells most of his fish to a fish company in town. However, his partner Amy would come out to the coast to pick some of our fish up to bring to some sushi restaurants over in Seattle. This kind of direct marketing is not uncommon for these smaller mom and pop salmon trolling operations. Arminta's fish hold is actually outfitted with a negative 40-degree freezer that Amy and Greg use during the more abundant Alaska fishing season. The ability to freeze fish on board the boat allows Amy and Greg to put up a certain amount of their catch into a cold storage to then direct market in the off-season. I think it's important to note that Greg's partner Amy plays a vital role in the fishing operation, both on board the vessel during the Alaskan season and during the off-season selling their fish. Now this past summer, my younger sister Molly was lucky enough to get put on the boat with Greg and Amy for the entire season. Her being a landlubber from the Midwest United States, the experience was seemingly life-changing. Although she gave me permission to share her image in this video, I know she'll be a little bit embarrassed being seen by tens of, or hopefully hundreds of thousands of viewers on this channel. And as her older brother, that brings me great joy. Like I said, Greg and Amy direct market a lot of their fish that they catch in Alaska through a market they have established here in the northwest of Washington State. As a matter of fact, they're holding a couple frozen fish for my sister Molly that I'm going to go pick up from Amy. So maybe I'll let her explain some more about their direct marketing and Amy's role in the fish operation. Hi, Amy.
How's it going?
I'm good. Oh, who is? Oh, that's
It's Kira.
Kira.
She's on loan.
Hi, Kira.
Oh, are you going your vocal or your sounds?
Oh, I have a little microphone on, yeah.
There you go. Got you a nice big coho for Molly.
I might have to tell her it fell off the roof of my car on the way home or something and keep that for myself, huh?
Oh, well, if you had to. No. How will she ever know?
Yeah.
Yeah. You beautiful coho.
That's a good sized coho.
That's about a little over 8. That's
Yeah.
probably over 8 pounds.
Let's just do it. We'll just talk. Let's see what we can come up with. My name's Amy Grondin. I think you already know that. I started fishing, I believe, in '91. I was skiing in Jackson, Wyoming and bartending there. Got a call from friends who work in Alaska and they needed a deckhand. So it's a bad pun, but I got hooked. I wasn't planning on staying in the industry. I was just trying it out. 25 years of working in restaurants in the off season from fishing. But then you get a little cranky and it's time to get out of the business because it's based on tips. That's when it worked out pretty good that we started direct marketing fish. Like you were saying earlier, the fish that you and Greg and Molly caught off the coast of Washington, those were sold fresh. And the fish that we catch in Alaska, we freeze at sea. We sell about, 2/3 of our fish to a wholesale buyer in Alaska, and the other third of the fish we keep, and I direct market to restaurants in Seattle. Knowing the person that you're getting your food from is a good thing. That way you can ask them questions, find out about quality and the life cycle of the fish, or what it's like living and working on a boat. For us, when we're freezing our fish at sea, FAS, we want that fish in the freezer within an hour of it being caught. So basically we've stopped that fish in time. It goes down to 40 below and just hangs out there till we defrost it.
You're doing great.
Thank you very much.
This is the
Yeah.
first time I've ever interviewed somebody.
You're doing great
Like,
too.
Earlier in the video, I differentiate
Yeah.
between trolling and trawling.
Thank you very much.
So
Yeah, I agree. Sometimes people don't get it that trolling and trawling are two completely different things, and you spend a lot of time explaining that to folks. And so the indiscriminate part of it is it has a huge net with weights, and it just picks up everything in its path, whether it's on the bottom, it could be rocks, kelp, seaweed, coral. You really want to consider the source of your food, because we make sure we try really hard to have a home for every fish we catch. The smaller the boat, the better. So there are some small family trawl boats that will be better to target a smaller footprint and get what they want, whereas the big factory trawlers, they just take everything. We catch our fish one at a time on a hook and line. So we have a high quality, lower quantity fish that goes into the marketplace. So our fish tends to go to like places where you want to display fish, like a fish market or a high-end restaurant that really wants high quality fish, because every fish we catch, we handle it individually. We bleed it, clean it, stun it, flush it out with seawater, and get it as cold as you can, as quick as you can. We take from a resource, this natural resource that is salmon, and those fish are really good business partners. We couldn't do what we do if there wasn't a healthy stock of fish out there. I want to make sure they can spawn the next generation, because they are such a linchpin of, especially the Pacific Northwest, the marine food web, and then the food web on land. That if these salmon aren't there, like orcas on one side will miss out, and bears in another place will miss out. They're an important part of everything, and people need to remember we're part of the ecosystem too. We're not above it, we're right in the middle of it, and it's our job to, as a top predator, to take care of it. And that's the habitat. Without habitat, the salmon won't make it. You could take every commercial fisherman off the water, every sports fisherman, and if there's not access to clean, free-flowing, cold rivers, the salmon won't make it. So it's what happens on land is as important as what we do on the water. Okay, blah, 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 plug me in.
Well, that video took me long enough to edit that I had to go off and shave. Thank you all so much for watching, and I do hope you enjoyed this video, whether it was the small woodworking project at the beginning, or whether it was the footage of my commercial fishing trip in the North Pacific Ocean. In my coming videos, I'm going to be veering away from boat building and focusing on some other woodworking projects, both big and small. I have some simple projects that I'm hoping people can follow along with at home and potentially try for themselves, while I also dream of doing some much bigger projects like building a timber frame shop at home, in which I hope to return to boat building and build some smaller wooden boats. If you enjoyed this video or look forward to some of the other projects I mentioned, please do subscribe to the channel. And it would mean a lot to me if you shared it with anyone else who might be interested in this type of content. And before I forget, another big thank you to anyone who's gone and supported my channel through my Buy Me a Coffee account or my Patreon campaign. I do still have to work for a living, which only affords me so much time to create content and edit videos for this channel. So for the time being, I only expect to be able to put out about one video per month. I do hope to put out videos more frequently in the future. A quick note on Greg and Amy's fish market. Now, although they have their market pretty well figured out, they're always looking for potential new wholesale buyers. So if you happen to be a restaurant owner or a small grocery store owner or a big grocery store owner in the Pacific Northwest area and you're interested in some of these fish, I've created an email with a link in the description below to inquire about purchasing some of Greg and Amy's inventory. They do have a minimum order of 50 pounds. Now I can attest that these are top quality wild-caught salmon. So a big thanks to everyone, and I hope to see you again in the future. And of course, wishing you all the best in this coming new year. Until next time.